one set of stocks that are buzzing is in the Indian power space, especially the export-centric stocks within the solar space. And we have with us Apoorva Bahadur, Power and Energy Transition Analyst at IIFL Capital, on the sidelines of the IIFL conference. Apoorva, great having you. First off, on a day like this, especially where we're seeing the kind of action, especially in the solar space, how large do you think this is, this entire duty of 126%, which the US has imposed on India, on Indian exports or US imports coming from India? How large is it for some of the Indian companies? You can see the kind of knock you're seeing on the stock, but give us a sense as to how justified that knock is.
Right. No, thank you for having me. Happy to be here. I think the current move that we have seen, it's just more like an expectation reversal. Post the US trade deal, these stocks had sort of done well on expectation of a new market opening up. So for some context over here, Indian solar manufacturers the last year and a half have basically been focusing on the Indian markets, which have done very well. Government had come out with schemes on rooftop solar manufacturing, rooftop solar. On top of that, there was PM Kusum for agricultural solar, right? And then the larger outlay of sort of imposing domestic content requirement at utility scale as well. So almm lists 1 and 2. The second one sort of imposed requirement for domestic cells to be used in the solar panels, which will be installed at a utility scale. Now, because the competition was rising and a lot of capacities were coming up, and there were some delays in terms of utility PPA signings, we've seen some backlog over there. These stocks were a little bit under pressure, plus there was some input price rise that happened. Currently, with the US trade deal and the US market opening up, which historically have been quite lucrative, that led to a re-rating in the overall space. And now with the anti-dumping duty, or the CVD, has been imposed, that essentially takes us back to the pre-deal levels of competitiveness, wherein India, Southeast Asia, China, there was a pecking order, and not a lot of cells and modules were being exported out of India. Having said that, companies, I mean, the Indian companies were sort of utilizing globally available cells, non-Chinese cells, and trying to meet their commitments in US. So from a financial perspective, I don't think that the impact will be very large, given that it was not there in the base as well. From an expectation point of view, I think which is what we are seeing today in terms of how the stocks are reacting.
Interesting. And talk to us about the kind of order books they have. It's large order books, the kind of capacity they are building up. Some of these solar players, in at least India-based, with India manufacturing. Talk to us about what the risks could well be, given the fact that we've seen a decent run-up on some of the stock prices. There's heavy execution which is likely to be underway over the next 3 to 5 years. And also, what we are seeing is Chinese competition coming in, at least in the global marketplace. India being insulated to a certain extent, but otherwise. Give us a sense of what the risks could well be.
From an India point of view, I mean, for a long-term perspective, I think the industry is very well placed. I think government has done very well in creating a walled garden, wherein they have not allowed sort of extremely cost-competitive Chinese imports into India, and that was critical for building the energy security of the country, right? So the entire solar ecosystem is being developed within India. We started with modules, which is the last step of the entire chain, moved up to cells, and there are also plans of moving further up into ingot wafers and polysilicon. So from that point of view, I think the long-term visibility is very good. India solar demand overall has grown. There will be 1 or 2 off years. Last year demand was extremely weak, and that is causing a mid-cycle pressure. But from a long-term point of view, I think this cycle at least will last till about 2030, 31, which is what we have written in our note on this space as well, the broader sector framing piece. On the execution side, see, it's challenging because a lot of capacity is being developed, but at the same time, there is genuine demand for it. The timing could be something which could be discussed, but a country India's size would at least require 60-70 gigawatts of solar capacity or solar module capacities, cell capacity, and the full backward integration value chain by the end of this decade. The risks that we see is mainly, as I said, it's a cyclical sector. It's a timing-based issue because the demand was weak last year. It has led to delay in PPA signings, which means that the order for new cells and modules or domestic cell-based modules is being deferred a little bit. In the interim, some capacity could come up and that could cause some pricing pressure. Or we are seeing there's been an input price rise, so prices of silver and all, which is quite critical in the overall bill of material for solar cells, has increased as well. From a long-term point of view, I think we are fairly de-risked. I mean, government's approach of having a walled garden by imposing tariff and non-tariff barriers on imports has genuinely created a profit pool and expanded it significantly to have multiple players with large capacities. And the sector is such that you need large capacities to be competitive globally. Now, on the Chinese capacity at a global level, Chinese have been they have built out a lot of capacity in the entire value chain. They control more than 80-85% of the total solar end-to-end supply chain. But over there as well, the industry, the capacity creation had happened at the cost of profitability, and there has been a lot of pressure by the Chinese government on the policy side to impose, to increase margins and improve profitability and also consolidate industry. They have been running a set of anti-involution policies, and that has led to not just increase in prices for polysilicon and solar cells, as well as in the battery materials, and then now the lithium-ion cells too, right? So it will be an interesting interplay. There will be, I think, walled gardens created across the world, given that now geopolitics and energy are intertwining to such an extent, and energy itself is moving from the traditional fossil fuel-based energy to new energy, which is solar, batteries, hydrogen, all of this, right? So yeah, so I think there will be enough and plenty for everyone.
Apoorva, I'm going to have to take a pause on this conversation for just a couple of minutes, slip into a very short and tight commercial, which I'm bound to take, come back to you and continue this conversation. Viewers, we'll slip into that short break, come back, continue this. Thank you.